Alright, what's going on, guys? Try back again here, bringing another video. This one's going to be a discussion video topic that was suggested by one viewer. Forget exactly who it is, you know who you are. This one is basically going to be what would happen, or what would, the series be like in The Walking Dead if Shane had actually killed Rick. So instead of, how everything went and, Shane ended up getting Rickrolled, what would have happened if Shane would have been the one to actually kill Rick, and what would happen afterwards? Well, I think that it would have been, I don't know. The thing about it is that Rick is the main character of the show. I mean, the first episode we see from the whole show, it follows Rick almost entirely. Like, we don't even meet the other characters until I think it's the second episode, and then the third episode when you meet everybody at the camp. But until then, it's pretty much so. A good portion of the first season is based around Rick's character. It has nothing to do with, really, Shane comes in later on, but Rick gets the most time to focus on in the first season. The second season, we sort of see a little bit of a mixture of both, and you get a lot of time to spend with Shane because obviously he's going to die later on. But if Shane had been the one to actually kill Rick in the show, what would the effects be on the show later on? That's interesting, I think. But the thing about it is that people like to follow, the quote unquote, good guy, and Rick is that. He might not always make the best decisions in terms of survival, but Shane has kind of crossed the line where he doesn't have that, emotional side to him anymore. He's lost the ability to view things from other people's perspective. He has no empathy towards others, like with Otis and stuff. He just does what he has to do to survive, and that's pretty machine-like. I think people relate better to someone like Rick, who's kind of got the inner turmoil and conflict and hasn't crossed over yet. Eventually, I think Rick will probably cross over more so to that side. But it's probably going to be later on down the series, and we're probably going to see a lot of other things happen to him, the people in the group, and the people he loves first before he becomes that kind of character. If Shane was to kill Rick, so let's take it right off the top. So Shane kills Rick, and he goes back to the camp or whatever, heads back, and gives him the story about snapping Randall's neck or whatever. But then the problem is that, you have Glenn and Daryl there that kind of already figured out that they were walking together and everything like that, and the whole thing was kind of shady to begin with. So the group itself really would not have worked if Shane would have came back and Rick having been dead. I mean, would people believe him? I guarantee you Herschel probably would not believe him, would probably not want him to stay, would ask him to leave. Daryl would know for sure that he's lying. Glenn would know pretty much that he's lying. So he might be actually kind of forced out of the group as a result of that, and it wouldn't actually work anyway. And then what we would have happen is maybe Shane would go off on his own. Everybody would probably hate him, or maybe they would just kill him. Maybe Daryl would just kill him when he's not looking or something. Shoot him in the head with an arrow or something like that. Back of the head, let's say. So would the show have worked out as well if Shane had been the one to actually kill Rick? I don't think it would have, because I think the group would disband then. Because Daryl's not going to be around when, if Shane was the one in charge. Every time when Shane comes up to talk to Rick, Daryl's like, gotta piss, and he leaves. Like you've seen in the second last episode, he just doesn't like Shane. He tries to stay away from him. So I don't think Daryl would stick around if Shane was in charge, or he would do something like that and, mutiny. Who else? Well, but the thing is at the very beginning of the show, Shane was sort of in charge, but he changed a lot. So he's not the same guy, and I think that Herschel wouldn't want him there, so that wouldn't work. Dale's dead now, so that doesn't matter. But Lori and Carl, Lori probably wouldn't go back with him after. Just even the possibility there being that, he might have been the one to do it, and Daryl kind of alluding to the fact, maybe just giving everybody a heads up that maybe Shane was the one to do it, because they did know that he killed Otis pretty much. He had admitted it to pretty much a lot of characters there, so they knew for the most part. They knew. Lori knew. So yeah, I think that it would have been an interesting twist to go that route, because it'd be going a different course in the comic books. But I think that overall people probably wouldn't like it, because Rick is, the central character of the show. We get to see, we get to live sort of through the show. He's the main antagonist through his eyes, his family, everything like that. So if he was to die at that point and John Bernthal was to take over as the lead of the show, it could be really bad for the show. Like the show maybe in the third season might have had its last season if that was the case, because you know, it would have been really weird. And I don't think that Shane's character is as relatable as Rick is, you know, at all, because of the reasons I mentioned earlier, that he's sort of crossed over that line, and people might see him as cruel. People might, you know, the average person might not understand everything that's going on, you know. So obviously Rick is a lot more relatable than Shane is. So would it have worked out, and would things would be a lot different if he was still there? You know, and Rick wasn't. I don't think it would have been probably, you know, as good, and probably not the right direction to go. I do think that Shane was probably the best addition to the TV show. Well, him and Daryl. He's definitely a lot better than he was in the comic book, that's for sure. But is he a better character than Rick? For me, he is, and I would like to see that. But for the average viewer, I don't think he is. For the average person, I don't think so. If they would have gone that route, I think it would have turned a lot of people off from the show, and you might have seen the show get possibly canceled because of that. I really think if they were to kill Rick, just straight up kill the character in season 3, I don't know how that would work. Like if they did that, if the show would get canceled, it might get canceled if they were to do that, or you know, have that be the last season, that kind of stuff, because people just seem to relate very well to Rick, whereas the other characters are not. You know, he's just tailor-made for people to relate to, being as not only just that he's the antagonist, but also that he's got that inner turmoil about him. So that's this video, guys. Any other video suggestions, please leave them for me. Private message. I wanted to also mention, too, with regards to comments, I'm getting over 100 comments a day right now. So it's impossible for me to go through that and, you know, and actually read them all. If I did that, I wouldn't be able to make any videos. If I read all the comments and went through, I wouldn't have any time to make any videos. So I apologize. If I get to your comment, I get to your comment. If not, if I don't see it or whatever, it's no knock against you. It's just that I pretty much, you know, have got so many that I can't really, you know, respond to them all, that kind of stuff. So that's just the way it is. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. See you for the next one. Later. Peace.